So this is the Do London Differently podcast taking place during Open House Week. I'm delighted to be hosting this today, and I'm Emma Griffin. I'm the co-founder of Footways, and we develop networks of quiet and enjoyable walking routes, and we turn those into beautiful printed and digital maps. I guess our aim is to not only to get people walking more and further as part of their everyday journeys and for leisure, but also to see the city in, I guess, in a more connected, slower, I guess, more human way. And I'm delighted to be joined by the Lord Mayor of Westminster, Cllr Paul Dimoldenberg. In Paul's previous role as the Cabinet Lead for Transport and Environment at Westminster City Council, he commissioned the Westminster Footways map, which I have a copy here, and we'll come on to this later. And we launched that earlier this year with you as Lord Mayor.
London has been given the first ever national park city status.
London, the world's first national park city.
Come and enjoy, because life's too short, really and truly.
And London, wow, what an amazing city.
So, greener,
Healthier.
And wilder.
Working with Paul and your team, your fantastic team at Westminster City Council, it quickly became clear how passionate you were about walking and how passionate you were about creating a safer, more welcoming city for people on foot and wheels. So it was no surprise then when you became Lord Mayor that you branded yourself the walking mayor, and that's a key theme, I understand, of your mayoralty. So I guess the first question is, why walking?
Well, walking, I mean, in practical terms, it's the best way to get around Westminster. Together with the buses and the underground, it's the quickest way, the most enjoyable way. And also, I'm not a driver, so, there aren't many alternatives left. So walking is the practical way for me to get around Westminster quickly, safely, and enjoyably.
Yes, exactly. And was there a moment, and I've been on a number of walks with you, Paul, and you clearly how much you know about the city and how much you walk. Walking is clearly a key part of your life. Was there a moment when there was, I guess, a click moment when you became not just walking at the end of your journey, but walking as a way of being in the city?
Well, I have to say, I've always walked.
Yeah.
So I've lived in Westminster since 1973, so 52 years. So if you want to stay in Westminster and enjoy it, walking is the way to do it. So I know lots of routes, I know lots of shortcuts, I know lots of nice places to go. And I'm also always discovering new bits of Westminster. But I don't think there was a light bulb moment, other than perhaps during lockdown, when, there was nothing around. And so you had the city to yourself. I can remember walking down Oxford Street on a Saturday afternoon, and we were the only people on Oxford Street, which was bizarre. And I think a number of people have had that experience, which is, well, hopefully we never have it again. But I suppose that really did make it even more interesting, because there was no one around. It was the way you get your exercise, the way you got out and made life interesting. So that was an important part of it.
Yeah, suddenly walking became, literally really one of the most enjoyable things you had, the only thing they had, and it slowed us down, didn't it? And it helped us see our cities in a much more connected way. It was a valuable experience for promoting walking, when everyone was suddenly understanding how important it was. And so Westminster, is it fair to say, I think it is fair to say, is probably one of the most walked areas in the country?
Well, yeah, I mean, we're pretty flat.
Yeah.
So, it makes it easy for all sorts of people, however old you are or young you are, you can get about in Westminster because you've not got any huge inclines.
And there's so much going on here.
Yeah.
So, and it's in such a dense area, getting between those, walking is often the easiest way of doing it.
Yeah, it is. And, often you'll beat the bus if there's a very busy street. Lots of congestion, you can beat the bus, or we can catch the bus if it's gone past you, because you can catch it up. But no, it's very practical.
Yes, we've tested this with the Footways network. We think actually walking can often beat the tube sometimes in central London. I know there are some very famous short journeys, aren't there? I know Leicester Square to Covent Garden is the one that everyone talks about.
Yeah, well, that's the most expensive underground fair in the world, I think.
I think that's right. But it's not just that one. I think there were even longer journeys. We look at like Euston to Covent Garden, for example. A lot of people get off the train and will walk into Covent Garden, and really actually, and we'll get the tube to Covent Garden, but actually walking is, takes about the same amount of time, and you see the best of it. So what do you think then makes Westminster such a special space, unique to Westminster?
Well, I think it's the collection of things, of people, of events, activities that have taken place that you can walk down a street. And particularly if you look just above eye level, you can see blue plaques, you can see different architecture, you can just discover interesting things about the city that you didn't know. And that's, for me, one of the most interesting things about it.
That's right, yeah, and that's been a delight actually when we were developing this map, walking together and then exploring the history of Westminster, and I know this map is packed full of history to look at as well. So the Footways map launched last July. Tell us about how these maps are being distributed and where people can get their hands on copies, because this has been really interesting about how this is now being shared.
Well, they're available at libraries,
Yeah.
Westminster libraries. They're available at Westminster housing offices around the city, so residents of council estates can get theirs there. They're there in other public buildings, so they're generally available.
Yeah, and how do you hope people, and I know there's been a big focus on this is not just for visitors to Westminster, this is for residents, people living it, to explore their area more thoroughly. How do you hope residents in particular will use this map?
Well, we hope that it will give people interesting routes to get around the area that avoid the busy streets, that go down interesting, not congested streets, go through the parks, and connect different parts of Westminster.
No matter how long you've lived in an area, actually, there's always more to discover, isn't there?
Yes.
And often walking is probably the easiest way to do that because you're moving more slowly. So now I know you've got a very detailed knowledge of the Westminster Street Network, and we learnt a lot from that, which has been really useful in developing the map. But are there any routes that you discovered as a result of the Footways network?
Well, there is one route in Hyde Park.
Aha.
There was one path that I'd never been on before.
Oh, right.
And it was the one that leads from what's called Serpentine North.
Yes.
Which is where the magazine store was, which is now a gallery, leads up north towards Bayswater Road, and it passes the sanctuary, the wildlife sanctuary.
Yes, of
and
course.
I didn't know about that. And so when we walked up there, I thought, wow.
Yes.
So we've been there since again. And also it goes past where previously there was a boundary in the park which denoted the royal part from the rest of the people. So there used to be a boundary in the park because it was a royal park. It is a royal park, but it was where I think Queen Caroline lived. And so there was, to keep her safe, there was a wall. And there's elements of that still there.
Oh, interesting. I'm going to go and explore that as soon as possible.
Very interesting.
Yes, they're great. That's next on my list to go and look at. In Westminster, over the last couple of years, there have been some huge, very exciting schemes for pedestrians. I think Strand Old Witch is a great landmark scheme that is really transforming experience for people walking and wheeling around on the Strand outside King's College and Somerset House. And I know Westminster City Council are now consulting on what could potentially be a transformative scheme linking Regent's Park to St James's Park down Regent Street, and that's being consulted on now. So if you are listening to this, go and make your voice heard. It could be fantastic for walkers. So we're really excited about these big landmark schemes coming in. But today, beyond the big schemes, I'm just interested in what you think maybe some of the smaller changes that actually for people walking that you think could transform things.
Well, I think that a very simple thing that I know the council is doing, which is more dropped curbs. Which is a simple thing, which enables people who've got mobility problems or are in buggies or wheelchairs that can get across pavements without having to stop and put big palaver trying to get yourself across. And so more drop curbs, I think, is going to be very important, and also more informal zebra crossings, which we've introduced and on a trial basis in, I think, 10 parts of Westminster, and that basically reinforces the highway code, because it's been changed to give pedestrians the right of way when crossing streets, and that's been very, very successful so far, I believe. So more of those, I think, will make walking easier and more enjoyable.
We're very excited to see the result of that. The research that's going on those side road zebras. I think this is small, but really was, but actually not small. It's actually a major transformative change that could change, that hierarchy, giving pedestrians that they should be at the top of the transport hierarchy. Could you describe what you think a perfect walking city would look like? And if you had a dream city in mind, what for walkers, how would it look?
I think it's going to be difficult to have the perfect walking city. It's this, the car is going to be with us for a long time. And, people do value their individual and freedom to drive. So you're not going to get rid of cars. And so I won't say car-free cities, because that's just not going to happen. But more pavements that are enjoyable to walk through, so they're segregated, and people can use them safely. But just generally, more people walking, I think, will make life a lot easier for people, because we'll encourage people.
Yes.
So more walking by everybody.
Yes, and I know we've been looking at how, when we develop walking networks, we think a lot of the time about, especially during when it gets darker, there's accessibility and safety for women and girls. And I know there's some interesting work going on at Westminster City Council in this. I'd be interested in your views about how we make cities safer for women and girls throughout the day and at night, and what features that looks like.
Yeah, well, I think streetlights are really important, and much forgotten.
Yes.
But if you have a very good network of streetlights, that's going to light up the streets at night. It's going to be clearer for everybody, where make it easier for people. But also, we've introduced CCTV.
Yeah.
So as a deterrent. That's helpful, but also if things happen, you can, track them and take action.
Yeah, true. We've been interested in looking at, and it's actually interesting being here at National Park City, and it'd be interesting to get some more views on this. It's actually creating greater visibility seems to be important. That doesn't mean cutting down trees, obviously, but it does mean, cutting back in places just to create more openness. And I'm interested in looking at how that can make women feel safer.
Yes, well, we've done that. It's very important that we keep in touch with residents about that, because they often have the direct experience of dark streets. Yeah. And often it is very simple.
Yes.
You cut back the foliage around a tree, and it makes it...
people can be seen.
Yeah.
And also permeability of housing estates is another interesting idea. And I think, I know in other councils across London, making estates more permeable, so it's not just accessible for people to live there, but actually for people to pass through as well. And this is something we're interested in looking at. I know you've got a very busy calendar ahead as the walking mayor. Maybe you want to tell us a bit about some of the events that you've got coming up?
Well, I've arranged a series of monthly walks with the Westminster Guides in different parts of Westminster. But I've also, working with the mayors of Kensington and Camden, we're doing walks along the boundary of both boroughs and city. And
are these, and people can come and join these walks? So are they open to people to come and join?
Yes. If you go on the Westminster Guides website, the details of that.
Lovely. And we work with the Westminster Guides, who are fantastic in the development of the Westminster Footways map, and giving us lots of ideas of history and our favourite streets. It's worth looking at. We've got a whole list on the back of what we class as some of the favourite streets, which are not just beautiful, full of activity, but also full of lots of history, which the Westminster Guides have been really helpful in providing. So I recommend picking up a copy from a local library. So if anyone listening, inspired by your ambition and hopes of walking, wanted to take a short walk in Westminster this weekend, open house week, I know this, where would you suggest they go?
Apart from the one from Regent's Park down Regent Street down to St James's.
Yes. Yep.
The other walk that I do, which is one of my favourites, we walk from Paddington Station down towards City Hall, and you walk through Hyde Park, Green Park, and St James's Park. It's a 3-park walk, and it's wonderful because except for a few places where you have to cross roads.
Yeah.
You're in the parks all the time.
Yes, and amazingly.
And it's about a 50 minute walk.
Lovely.
It takes you from around Paddington down into Victoria.
Okay.
So I'd recommend that.
That's great. And my last question, because I know I think on one some recent walks with you, we saw some very interesting streets full of some interesting architecture. If you could pick a street with a particular range of interesting architectural houses, I know there was some near Church Street Market that we saw that was very interesting. You had a wonderful bit of history about that.
Yes. Well, there's. If you go from Marylebone Station
yes.
Towards Paddington Station, you walk through the north part of Marylebone, which has got a really history, including the places where My Fair Lady was set around there, and where Professor Higgins met Eliza Doolittle and worked out that she was, from her accent, she was from Lisson Grove. So there's some build. Of course, we also passed the very first buildings that Octavia Hill,
that's right,
Housing Association, Pioneer built in the 1880s, and they're still there.
Yes.
And it's a nice little part of Marylebone that's got real history.
Yes, great. So I recommend that if you're leaving Marylebone Station or Paddington Station and you want to head into the West End one way or to the north the other way, I recommend that as because it's a very beautiful but quieter walking route with some really amazing things to see, and you can use one of these maps to go in there.
It's just off Bell Street.
Yes.
Bell Street leads roughly from Marylebone Station down to the Edgware Road.
So while we're here, we've got a small audience here. Thanks for joining. Has anyone got any questions for Paul today?
Yeah, I do have a question. I'm Michael from London National Park City. You mentioned actually just shortly after you became mayor that you wanted to be the walking mayor, and you put an open invite to walking groups to invite you along. And you mentioned Westminster Guides, but are there any other walking groups that have that you found really inspiring? And what sort of other different groups have you been?
Well, I went
with?
walking in Hyde Park with Nordic walkers. So a group of older people who had the Nordic poles, and I joined them and found that very interesting, which I might take up later. But it was a good way of actually getting more exercise out of walking, because the Nordic poles that you use actually allow you to exercise the upper body as well as the legs. So you're exercising your legs, but you're also exercising your upper body. And so I might be taking that up as well.
That's quite interesting, because we don't hear much about Nordic walking necessarily in the sort of city centres. Westminster, it's normally you're thinking countryside.
Yeah, there is a group that they meet in Hyde Park on a regular basis. So I met them in one of the cafes, and there was about 10 of them. all with their Nordic poles, and we went for a walk around the lower part of Hyde Park.
Can you do Nordic walking on streets, or is it a park activity?
No, I think you can walk it in the streets.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't see anything wrong with that at all.
In fact, more space means more space for poles.
I don't think there's a problem there.
Any other questions? Yes, thanks.
Hi, I'm Judy Ling Wong. I'm the Honorary President of Black Environment Network, and of course been involved with the beginnings of National Park City. And I'm always keen to recognise that there's so many people from all cultures in our city, and whether some of the walks actually point out how many trees we have in our parks that come from all parts of the world, where when you walk with a family, say from India, and the grandmother is able to say, now that tree is from the country from which we came, and it is here. And it forms a connection for the grandchild, which can be quite a fantastic thing to realise.
Yes. Well, one of the things we've come across, my wife and I, over the recent years, are books about walks.
Yeah.
And one of them we've got is a tree walk in London. It starts at the river around Putney and goes along the river, pointing out very different trees, and they're from all, as you say, from all over the world. Just great specimens of each one. So one of the other things I would recommend is going into a bookshop and looking for the walks section. They're usually found in London, in the London section, but there's been a real growth in books about walks.
That's true. And is that Paul Wood's book, isn't it? He said we did a walk with Paul Wood in Pimlico, in fact, and it was a fascinating walk. And there was a street in Pimlico. Am I right? I'm going to get the details wrong now, and Paul, if he's listening to this, will but I think there was a link with an Indian Prime Minister that grew up there. And then they grew some trees that are native. Or was it Australian? That's right, wasn't it? And they grew some Australian trees to link back to that. And I thought that was a lovely connection to
I've also done a walk with a guy who does pub crawls.
Yes.
Tom Vosper. And we did a Paddington pub crawl. We didn't drink very much, but we walked from the Warrington pub, which is in Warrington Avenue, to the Warwick Castle, which is in Warwick Place, down to the Monkey Puzzle. Sussex Gardens, which is my
This is in your ward.
My ward as well. So there are all sorts of walks you can do, whether you do it with trees, pubs, blue plaques.
Yes.
There's some really... I've got a blue plaque walk. I got that from the Tate a few years ago. It's really good.
Yes.
So, I would... you can make life really interesting by different sorts of themes for your walk.
Pick a theme and develop a nice walk.
Yeah.
And
And as I say, we're doing the borough boundary walks, with Kensington and Camden, and I've worked those out. So you started at one end, walk down the other, and you say, well, that's interesting. Then when I get back, look them up, and you find out a bit more about the history.
But that's interesting, isn't it? Walking the boundary of your So what does that tell you? What do you learn in that sort of walking boundaries? I know this is a popular thing.
Well, I don't know what you learn, other than there are some interesting buildings and things along the boundary. But they probably, when you're walking, you don't recognise boundaries.
Yeah.
You're going from Westminster to Kensington.
Yeah.
You don't realise that. So it shouldn't really matter.
No.
And people don't put things on the boundaries for a particular reason, unless they've got a wall or a lookout post to keep people on that side out. But that doesn't happen anymore.
You can spot the road signs though. The fonts, and the.
That's the way you know which side of the line you're on.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just want to come to one point that you made earlier, which I think is so important. There's actually in parks that we should see trees at their best. in a natural environment and so on, they're often not at their best. They're part of a tree in a wood or whatever. But in a park, a tree is given the space to grow into its own perfect form all by itself. And when you look at it, sometimes you really see the special beauty of a tree all by itself in a park.
Yes.
People say that about London. You see the best trees. When people leave London, they say, I miss the trees. That's the, well-tended trees. Are there any other questions we've got from the oh, thanks.
Hello, I'm Sadeem. I work for National Park City. I'm the comms manager here. I'm really interested to know which season you personally think is the best for walking and why.
Oh, that's a difficult one.
Well, I think spring and autumn are the best.
It's great to see Westminster, introducing some seating, which helps, and some planting and for shade and all these features actually kind of, do make walking in different, more extreme circumstances easier.
Yes, seating is important for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
And we're trying to do more of that as well.
Yes, especially for an ageing population as well. Regular seating is important for that. And I'm just looking now out at Regent Street. I can see it just through the back here, and that's been fantastic changes there, with lots of seating and planting along there. And I see how well and popular those seats are. That really makes it much more.
And toilets as well. And
tell us about the new toilets.
We've what we're doing, we're upgrading our 8 West End toilets. Spending over £12 million on them, and if you've been down to Victoria Embankment, there's a toilet there, and if you've been on if you've been on Parliament Street, just by the House of Commons, we've just opened a refurbished one there, and we've got a whole series of refurbished toilets opening over the next year.
And I've seen the designs for these. These look like almost like a visitor destination in their own right. They're all themed, aren't they, to the local area with beautiful artworks embedded in the.
We commissioned an artist, James Lambert, to do the designs for each of them. They're all different. He's taken local landmarks as his theme, and they've all been. He's turned his designs into tiles, so it's all tiled from top to bottom, new fitments, new everything. So they really are beautiful toilets.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing those.
Yeah. Could we look forward to the Lord Mayor's toilet walk in 2026?
I think that's a very good idea.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thanks everyone for joining. That's been a fascinating conversation, from toilets to trees to landmark public spaces. So thanks very much for joining us, Paul. And I'm looking forward to walking again. I hope we can fit some more walks in on the Footways network and the toilet walk next year. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Come and enjoy, because life's too short, really and truly.
And London, wow, what an amazing city.
So, greener,
healthier,
and wilder.